Hello, I'm David R. Gammons. I am the assistant. I've already forgotten my own title. I am David R. Gammons, the visiting assistant professor of directing here at Virginia Tech. It's just started this fall. Well, obviously, the play Oedipus by Sophocles has been around for nearly 2,500 years, and it's the kind of play that is so embedded in our understanding of the Western canon and the history of theater that in many ways we take it for granted. It's the kind of play that everyone's heard of, many people have read, and nobody has actually seen performed on stage. The production that I had intended to direct in 2019 and actually 2020 was curtailed because of the pandemic. So in thinking about what I might want to do as my first production at Virginia Tech, this project came back to mind, and I returned to the text, and I was struck immediately by several aspects of the play that really hadn't presented themselves so strongly before. And the primary one was that this play begins in the midst of a terrible plague. People are literally dying in the streets because of this terrible curse that has befallen the city of Thebes. And Oedipus, as the king of Thebes, is called upon by the people of the city to help them, save them, end this terrible plague. And the resonances, therefore, felt so incredibly strong and relatable. How we manifest that story on stage is what brings the story to life. And so I knew right away that my vision of this world, this story, would be a contemporary one. This is not an Oedipus with folks in togas and marble columns or whatever else might come to your mind if you think of ancient Greece. The world you'll see on stage resembles the world of today. Whenever I begin work on any production, one of my first activities is a phase of what we call visual research. Just beginning to collect a series of images that suggest what the feel of the play might be. When I began work on this, I was looking at images of city streets during COVID, abandoned spaces and figures behind their windows, as I said. But I also began to look at the work of a couple of different particular artists. Everything also sort of had a kind of controlling grid to it. When I imagined the streets of New York, the way that concrete sidewalks are laid out in a grid of squares, the way that a skyscraper has its own kind of architectural. I love this image of a stairwell, and you can see that recurring grid work, the juxtaposition of repeating rectangles and squares, then with zigzagging lines that cut through it. And collectively, this kind of visual research. But on certain kinds of projects, there's just the perfect meeting of the way I've imagined the play in my director brain and the way that I've imagined the play in my designer brain. And this is a perfect example of one of those projects where the visual research and my reading of the text has led me to be able to imagine a scenic environment to put on stage that I think will really work.